Hey, 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 good morning, everyone. Welcome to Joy Life Center Coaching and Consulting. It's me, your life coach, Andrea Jackson. We're going to jump right on in today. We have a couple of people that's waiting. We're going to be talking about acceptance and the power therein. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start admitting people to our group. Hold on. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for calling in, guys. And those of you that were waiting in the waiting room for so long, thank you so much for waiting. We just wanted to make sure that we had a couple of people on so we can start our group. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for calling in. And we're going to be talking about acceptance on this morning. Oh my goodness. We're going to be talking about acceptance on this morning. The power that acceptance or a lack of can bring. So before we jump into that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our check-in. So let's see, our first caller, she's still getting her audio together. Sister Lupe, can you hear me? No, her audio is still connecting. So Miss Susu, are you able to check in?
Yes, yes. God bless you. Yes, I am able to check in. That's going to be about it today. But you look so beautiful. Well, as always. So, but just exceptionally this morning, just glowing. Oh my God. But I feel good. I'm good. I'm taking care of some physical things and for my body and mentally, I'm doing well. But I'm good. But I'm going to listen in as long as I can. God bless each and every one.
God bless you. God bless you. Thank you, Miss Susu. Your energy is helping me to be seen in an energetic light, and I love that. And I hope to carry that through the rest of my day. Thank you so much, Miss Bianca. Good morning. No, I'm sorry, Sister Lupe. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Thank you so much for your patience sitting there waiting in the waiting room. Go ahead. Go ahead and check
Okay.
in, sweetheart.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm doing well. Um, Making my morning tea. Um,
Hey.
just trying to get some rest today and going on my procedure today. So prayers, but a little nervous, but I'm, I'll be fine.
You will.
Amen. Yes. And I'm excited for the word today. It's always something, and I love it.
Awesome. And I love that you love it. And I so thank you. I was thinking about that farmer's market. I was trying to contact my daughter to see if she found one near us. I was in the grocery store and I was looking for that buckwheat tea. And you're right. I mean, that buckwheat honey. And you're right, they don't have it. So it's a special organic item. So thank you so much for that. Let's see. Miss Bianca, good morning. Go ahead and check in, please.
Good morning. I'm doing well. Physically and mentally, I'm doing well. Um, feel good on today. I went to the doctor on yesterday, even though it was just an initial doctor visit, asking all these thousands and one questions, but I felt good just having somebody that I could communicate with and understand, and they could communicate with me, and I could understand them also. So that was a blessing all by itself. So I'm encouraged on today. I'm encouraged, to have prayer, and I'm just ready. I listened to a word that says, steady in the storm. We got to be steady in the storm. We can't give up in the storm. So I'm encouraged on today, and I'm excited about the teaching on acceptance on today. So yeah, I'm here, ready and willing. Thank you.
Ready and willing. Thank you so much, because we do have to have some willingness in order to move forward in power. And, we're going to be talking about that exactly. Acceptance. Sometimes we're not willing to accept things. Sometimes we're just not willing to accept current circumstances, personal limitations. We're not ready to accept life on life terms. And we stay in a fight. We stay in a fight, and that wrestle, that whole wrestle, that warring against the truth, that's a draining fight. It's a fight that's not only draining, but it takes the days of our life. It wears us down. It tires us out. But I want to identify that I understand, because sometimes, we talk about the stages to acceptance. That's a stage. But sometimes we live in the stage and we don't progress to the acceptance. The stages of acceptance sometimes starts with strong denial. Let's say someone gives you a call and give you some bad news. Sometimes our mind can't wrap itself around it. Denial. Nope, not me. That didn't happen. Oh no, that's not the truth about me. And many times we're in that wrestle where we're denying this and we're dying. Oh no, that's not my child. My child. No, 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 no. We're wrestling and we will not receive the truth. And sometimes we go into anger after that. Sometimes we go into bargaining with God. God, if you just please take this from me, we go through a lot of different stages before we get to acceptance. And sometimes we spend so much time of our life just refusing to accept the matter. So one thing that we're going to take a look at today is acceptance. How do I accept? And I always want to share this story. I had a client some odd years ago, and he was diagnosed with HIV. And when he was diagnosed, he warred with that. He could not accept that. His mind, his life, everything went upside down at the sound of that news. Understandably, understand that, but because of the diagnosis, he would have nightmares, he would have night sweats, he'd wake up in the middle of the night just covered with sweat from nightmares and fear and panic and torture, the thoughts of what's going to happen and an early death, and I'm not going to see my children grow up, I'm not going to see my grandchildren, and all these different things, of course, was going through his mind. And this went on for years. His addiction began to take over. His old behaviors began to take over because he just wrestled with that thing. And after he went through his stages to acceptance, he finally accepted, I have an incurable disease, but it is very treatable. And if I go to the doctor, I take my medicine as prescribed, and I take better care of me, I'm going to be okay. Not to mention around him was a lot of his friends that were dying from the disease. From the virus, excuse me. Because he didn't care for himself, because of the lack of acceptance, he was ruining himself, and he kind of went up, his T cells began to become affected, and he progressed to an AIDS diagnosis very rapidly because he couldn't accept the HIV diagnosis. So when we're in that lack of acceptance, when we're going through the stages of change, the stages of acceptance, sometimes we can stay in a place too long. And when we stay in that place too long, we'll find ourselves harming ourselves than bettering ourselves. So one of the things that we want to take a look at today is some areas of our life where we lack acceptance. Now, I do want to report that client of mine is living a wonderfully awesome life today. He accepted his truth. He accepted it. He's taking his medication. He's He's going to the doctor, he's eating right, he's doing all the things that his doctor advised him to do. He's taking his medication as prescribed, and he is wonderful. If you saw him walking down the street, you would not even know his condition, as you shouldn't know. But at the same time, he's wonderful. He's living a good life. He goes to church, he loves God. He's interacting with his children, his grandchildren. They go on trips, vacation, they spend time together, and they just love him and he loves them. But he couldn't do any of that while he was wrestling with the diagnosis. Now, let me also say, since he's accepted it, he's no longer waking up with nightmares. He's no longer waking up with the wet sweats. Excuse me. He's no longer dealing with those things. He's no longer tortured, no longer in that panic. But thank God, because of acceptance. Acceptance is a freedom. It's a freedom to accept our truth, whether it's about ourselves, our children, conditions of our life. One thing we want to identify is we have to accept our personal limitations. We're human, guys. We're human. And we're trying to figure out how to be the best human that we can be, how we can identify what's going on inside of us. Because remember, life is not only learning about life, learning what we want, what we don't want, but it's also learning about us, what we can tolerate, what we can't tolerate. If you can't tolerate high stress, that's the truth about you. We may want to say, I'm one that can tolerate high stress. But if that's not you, accept it and embrace it. You know, I'm gonna accept that and I'm gonna own it, because when I own it, it's not labeling me that you a sucker, you can't tolerate high stress. That's not labeling you. That's accepting the truth about me so that I can move into doing something about it. So if I can't tolerate high stress, then I'm not going to get a high stress job. I'm going to make sure that I'm proactive so that any stress that does hit me, it's a stress that's necessary for me to deal with. But I'm going to be proactive, knowing and owning that I need low stress in my life. If I'm addicted, sometimes there's so much stigma around stuff. There's so much stigma around being poor, so much stigma about sicknesses and illness, so much stigma about mental health, so much stigma about so many things in the world that we don't want to accept when those conditions come our way. So I want to ask you today, what's something that you're struggling to accept? Something that maybe you have you personally you realize today that I'm limited. I have a personal limitation. I'm human. I don't like that about myself, but at the same time, I'm starting to identify it so that I can work on it. What's something that you need to accept or recently accepted about yourself? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
Sister Lupe here. For me, I would say that going through a child custody battle, having to accept the changes, letting go of control as far as the days that my son gets to spend with his father, not only with his father, but with the very woman that came in between our marriage. And just having her had an influence in the parenting that my baby's father pursues with what he needs to do for my son, and that's hard to accept.
Yes.
To he doesn't have plans to harm me but to prosper me, so whatever the end result will be as far as court, I will have to accept that in order to move on, just like I accepted the fact that he moved on, my baby's daddy. I have to accept the fact that my son, this woman is going to be a part of my son's life for I don't know how long or for whatever time. And in order for me to live in peace is I I really have to just give it to God. And so far, he brought her driving her car, her BMW, and she was in the car. And now that we're in court, he's bringing her around to my house, and that's just really hard. But at the same time, um, I believe that God prepared my heart, and he I one of my pastor did mention to me before, when you see them again, you're not gonna feel anything. Not gonna allow you to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened. It came to pass. So I don't really feel, I can't get caught up. I learned in life that you can't get caught up in the disrespect people show you, because people are gonna hurt your feelings all the time. And but God doesn't. God loves you, and sometimes it feels like he hurts your feelings, but he's doing it. I feel he's doing it for me, because some pride needs to be, humbled, and I need to just be able to co-parent much in a mature way, and know that if I don't even if I don't trust them, I trust God, that he has the best interest for my son. Amen.
Oh my God, that is beautiful, Sister Lupe. It's a real struggle. And I hear you. Oh, when it comes to our babies, oh my God, and have to share them and their influence in their life. That's a strong one. Thank you for starting us with that one. And I love your method of acceptance, because I can imagine you warring with that thing, doing everything that you can do so that that doesn't happen. But I love how you said, I had to accept and release the control, because it'll stress me out, wear me down, and all sorts of things. But oh, that was awesome. And I know that's one with your heart. That's a hard one. Thank you for sharing that. And I love, like you say, your process. I'm letting go. Acceptance isn't sometimes an overnight fix, because whatever it is that we have to accept, that acceptance weighs hard against what you truly believe, what you truly desire, what you truly want. So whatever it is that happened, it's hard for me to accept it, because it goes against what it is that I was hoping for, or what it is that I was anticipating or expecting. So thank you so much for that. That's a good one, coming right out the gate. Thank you. Ms. Bianca, did you want to share what's something that you've identified that maybe you have some personal limitations on, that you have to work to accept?
Yes. Definitely would be my health.
Okay. Wow. Yes.
Yeah,
My goodness.
definitely would be my health. Very challenged
Yes.
in so many different areas. It's just not like a one thing, but I have, few challenges at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, it can really, 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 strike a nerve, cause you to, feel and cry and all kinds of stuff again, because I'm human.
Yes.
I'm human. So I have all those different emotions, and it's okay.
Yes.
Um, but after all of that, and not that the situation is gone, but after all of that, the crying and everything like that, truly just really saying, because uh my apostle said, man's extremities is
Mm-hmm.
God's opportunity, which
Yes.
was just said to me on Sunday.
My goodness.
And when we're tired of trying to do it,
Yeah.
trying to fix it ourselves, or whatever the situation, where maybe doctors say, what, this is where it is.
Yeah.
But then it's God's opportunity to show up and to show out in the way that he wants to show up and show out.
Yeah.
And so with that, just being able to um, go through, because nobody really wants to go through.
Right.
You know, nobody really wants to go through trials and tribulations and ups and downs. We just would love for everything just to be good. You know, we would just love for that just to be, hey, roses and butterflies and different things like that, unicorns and, you know, mermaids. And
Oh, Lord.
but we would just love for everything just to be really, really good. But life is life, and
Yeah.
life shows up. And so just being accepting that life shows up, and accepting that this may be where it is today, but it does not mean that this is where it's always going to be.
Right.
It's just where it is today,
Yeah.
right this moment. Um, because I serve a God that can do anything,
Yeah.
anything but fail.
Anything.
Yeah. And some people say he never failed me yet. I don't put that yet on there. He's never failed.
Yes. Yeah.
He's never failed. So just being able to accept, okay, I have these issues going on in my body. Yes, they tiresome. Yes, sometimes it's kind of hard for one foot in front of the other on a everyday thing. But you know what? I accept where I am today. But I do not accept that this is where it's gonna always be.
Right. Okay.
I don't accept that.
Okay.
And with that being said, if I don't even like to say that part, but situation may remain made the same, but I won't remain the same in looking at the situation. I'll put it
Okay.
like that.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
I like that, Miss Bianca. I like that. I understand you didn't want to profess that the situation may not change, but that's another level of acceptance, because even though God is on our side, there are some things, just like Sister Lupe has already shared, that I'd like to present as a point of acceptance, is loosening our grip, loosening our control in things, because sometimes we want what we want, and that's understandable. I like how Miss Bianca said nobody wants to suffer. No one signed up and get in line for suffering. Oh, there's a nice suffering line, let me get over there and see what kind of suffering I can get. You know, we don't do that. And maybe there's someone that does. We have all types of people in the world, risk takers, all kind of things. But one thing about acceptance is I lose my control. This is where we identify where the lack of acceptance is, and we own it, whether it's me, whether it's a part of me, whether it's my limitations, whether it's a part of me inside of me that I'm determined to beat and can't. You know, like both of you guys talked about things that's outside of our control. And that's where the acceptance is needed, because if we can change it and control it, we would have been did it. We would have did it by now. But there are some things that's just strictly out of our control, like Lupe say, in the control of the court, or like Miss Bianca said, in God's control. But I can't do nothing but sit and wait and pray. Now, in that's a beautiful position, because even in that waiting position of prayer, we still have power, because we have connection with our Father who art in heaven, and hallowed be his name. So we find that even though that place of prayer may seem a place of lack, it may not feel as empowering as just going and changing it and taking care of it myself. But at the same time, it's a place of power, because now both of you have talked about, okay, I've gotten some acceptance in this, but acceptance is just like healing. Acceptance takes time. You don't just hit the light switch of acceptance and turn it on, and then when I don't need to accept the matter, I can just turn it off. Acceptance is like healing, because acceptance goes through its stages. In order to accept something, the stages must go. Our emotional feelings about it, how we view it, how we want to bargain it. And let's talk about our interaction with God in it. What if God says no? What if God says not yet? What if God is silent? Oh, sometimes it kind of stagnates our acceptance because it's like, hey, I need a yes from you. I need a yes from you. But I like how Sister Lupe said, I had to relinquish full control. There are some things in our life, talking about our personal unhealthy behaviors. There are some things in our life where we have to accept, this is my personal limitation. Some people are bound by drugs and alcohol. Some people are enabling. Some people are lying. Some people are just operating in unhealthy things to them. They self-sabotage themselves. Fear grips them and they never walk out what they're supposed to do. You know, failure grips people and they never try. It disturbs their faith steps. Many of these things we have to learn to overcome by accepting. Maybe I accept that that's happened in the past. I accept it. It had a bad outcome, but I also accept, after I get through my stages, my whole feelings about it, I have to get to a place where I accept I can do something different. I can try it again. I can go back and I can look to see what is it that I need to do different. You know, I'm more mature now. I'm more understanding of what's going on now. I've taken some time to study. Whatever it is, maybe it's something that I'm having a challenge in. I have to accept that as my limitation, not just give it up. Oh, well, that's just who I am. This personal challenge can be won because we profess the word of God all the time. I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. I can do all things. Oh, but I can't change that. Boy, that's just a booger right there. Oh, well, I tried. It didn't work. So I don't want to do that. Oh, no. I'm not. We haven't accepted it. Sometimes we're allowing these unhealthy behaviors to block us. But one thing that we have to do is learn to relinquish the control that it has in our life, our control, those factors that keep us bound or keep us repeating cycles that are not good for us. For one, we have to learn how to relinquish the control so I can accept I need help. I need help to stop enabling. I need help to stop drinking in excess. I need help to start to remain in school and carry out the process and stop miscarrying or aborting my destiny. I need help because once I can identify that and own it, accept it, be okay with it, then guess what? That's when things can change because I can do something different about it. So one of the things that we want to acknowledge is the control factors that we have over these situations of our life, you know, and we want to come into a place where we identify that if we don't accept it, we give that issue more control and more power to stay and remain and destroy our life. Remember, I gave you the example of my former client, and one of the things that he was experiencing was the night sweats, the nightmares. He couldn't drink. I mean, he couldn't sleep without waking up in a panic. He was tortured by that thing. But the power of acceptance removed all of those discomforts that he was going through. He didn't have to take medicine for it to try to sleep at night. He didn't have to take medicine for the cold sweats. He didn't have to go see the psychologist to accept that these cold sweats are going to come. You just need a blanket. But he had to go and accept the truth of the matter. And once he went through that process, he was able to live free. He was able to live free. Some things in our past, we have to learn to live free of. Maybe it wasn't my fault, but I was broken by it. I heard a message that talked about how Mephibosheth was dropped and he was lame for every day of his life. You know, he didn't do it. He didn't do that to himself. He wasn't out there using drugs and messing over women, and that was a consequence. No, he was an innocent child. But at some point, he had to accept what he was going through, what he was experiencing. He had to accept, because living with anger is not going to help us either. We have to go through accepting I had no control in the matter. This thing happened. My personal limitation to protect myself or my personal limitation to protect others, it was a factor. So I have to accept that. so that now I can heal. And as I heal, I can move forward, because the longer I stay in denial, the longer the hot sweats, the cold sweats, the nightmares, the fear, the torture. Now, how does denial affect you? I want you to think about it. How does your denial affect you in your life? Because we have these unhealthy behaviors. And if we don't come into an acceptance that these behaviors need to be dealt with so that I can progress through them, what are some of the unhealthy outcomes that you've experienced as a direct result of your denial? Anyone can go for that. Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
Sister Lupe, I would say just stress.
Yes.
Stress on top of stress, on
my.
top of stress. Not being able to sleep, no peace of mind. It affected me mentally. It affected my mood emotionally. Wow. My eating affected me. Just headaches, and even change, like bitterness gave me a lot of bitterness. So it did affect me in so many ways. And being able to let it go doesn't mean that you give up or you lose or surrender. It is a surrendering,
Yes.
as far as surrendering to the fact that I'm powerless over that situation. But I know that I serve a all powerful God, and I could always bring my petition and my prayer request to Him. However, I've learned that God does not always give you what you want. He gives you what you need, and
yes,
I've learned that He doesn't heal everybody. He doesn't restore everybody's relationship. He doesn't, just because I used to go to a church where my brother, where they used to pray all the time about God's gonna heal. You say God is gonna restore, and I believe that. I believe those happy churches. But when I was faced with a difficulty, and I was pregnant, almost 6 months pregnant, and I lost my kid, and I was fasting. I had the church pray for me and laying hands. I became very bitter, and I was very upset at God. Like, why didn't you heal me? Why, you could do it. Why didn't you? And that's when it got worse before it got better. But I learned that it's always up to Him.
yes.
So when people tell me, "Oh, God's gonna restore," or God's gonna, I'm like, wait a minute. I try not to put my hopes up. I mean, I know God is all powerful and He could do anything. However, not knowing whether He's gonna do it or not, so just leaving it in His hands. So the faster and the quicker I left it, and know that I trust Him, and that's the key right there. I trust God that He's gonna do it for my better, for the good. Then that's as soon as I found that out, then it was easier for me to let go of everything else, and it stopped affecting me mentally and physically.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love that, Sister Lupe. Thank you so much. And if you guys can remember all of the symptoms that she had from that lack of acceptance, the headaches, the bitterness, the stress, the double stress, all of that. And I love how even in that situation that she went through, God, because remember, all things work together for the good for them that love the Lord and called according to His purpose. But it may not seem good. It may not feel good. This was not on my agenda, God. Did you miss this point right here? Did you miss this prayer? But that's the thing. It may not always come the way we want it, but we have to remember, He knows, Jeremiah 29:11, he knows the plans that he has for us. And that's where we have to trust God and have confidence, because those things that we didn't get a yes, we didn't want to accept. But God says, even in this, I'm making it for your good, and trusting that. And I love how she shared how after all of the symptoms and the situation as tender as with the baby, I'm reminded of King David when he sinned with Bathsheba, and she was pregnant with that first child before Solomon came along. And he fasted and he prayed, and he had everybody in the city, like Sister Lupe said, everybody in the church was fasting and praying, but we still don't necessarily get the outcome that we want. With David, the baby died. The baby died, and David mourned the baby's death. He mourned that baby's death. I fast, I prayed. Why you didn't cause my baby to live? I know you're an almighty God. I know you're a wonderful God. I know that you can stop death. Why didn't you? Why didn't you? What did God say to him? He said, arise, eat bread, strengthen yourself, son, and live. It wasn't my will. How can we accept when it's not God's will to do what we ask him to do? Now, I like how Bianca shared. It's even hard to wrestle with that thought sometimes. We know God is faithful, and yes, I want him to do it, and yes, he can do it, and all these wonderful things. But guess what? What happens when he don't do it? What happens when it's not in the plans that he has for you? Sorry about that interruption. What happens when it's not in the plans that he has for you, that you and I have identified? They're good. They're very good plans that he has for us, but it doesn't go along with what I thought. How do I accept God's plan? How do I accept it? How do I relinquish my control? How do I embrace my personal limitation to it and accept it? Because in being in denial of it, fighting against it, no, God's going to do it. That baby's going to come back to life. It's going to happen. We're giving ourselves stress. We're opening the doors for our unhealthy behaviors, not only to stay active, but to grow and flourish into more unhealthy behaviors. Simply accepting a matter. Thank you so much for that. When God says no, we have to remember as believers that even though he said no or didn't give us what we want to that extent, he's still going to give us the strength to overcome it. I hear Sister Lupe as a strong woman of God. I hear her not as one that's broken and bitter over what happened, even though she went through broken and bitterness. But he knows how to bring us into the place that he has for us, to equal or be prepared for the plans that are good that he has for us. I love that. And welcome, Kashara. So good you could chime in today. We're talking about acceptance. We're talking about acceptance, the power of acceptance, just merely accepting a matter, going through the healing process and the stages of acceptance. Sometimes we get some news that we just don't want to accept, and it takes some time. Sometimes we identify ourselves in life in a position, in a place that, I can't accept this about me. I have a personal limitation with this. I don't have control over that. And we can't accept it. We war against it. So we talked about accepting things that we'd have no power to, things of court, things that are totally in God's hands, things that are inside of us that we would like to be changed. And I want God to do it just like that, but he doesn't. We got to go through a process of change, or just have to accept that that's our condition. So I want to ask you, if you're able, what's something that you may need to accept? If you want to wait until later on after you've heard a little bit more, please, you're welcome to that. But if you want to jump right on in with your acceptance, what is it that you're struggling or have struggled to accept? And then also, as a direct result of being in denial and not accepting it, what's some of the outcomes? What's some of the symptoms of that denial? Some things that you experience We've talked about how we experience stress just because we won't accept and own our stuff, situations that we have no control over. We can have stress, bitterness, sleepless nights, hot sweats, cold sweats, nightmares, all those things. So just jump in whenever you like. So we're talking about this power of acceptance. And do you see how the power of acceptance can bring us to a place of peace and easement? But go ahead, Bianca. What are some of the experiences that you have? What's some of the symptoms that you have as a direct result of not accepting whatever those truths are? Go ahead and share.
I remember when my mom was passing away. It's like 2 years ago now. But I remember praying for her and laying hands and calling on God and you know and everything of that sort, along with praying for other people and laying hands and calling on God, and things was going, would turn around in their lives.
Right.
But when it came to my mom, it was like things wasn't turning around, and it was looked like they had began to get worse. Um, so that was a very hard period of my life.
Yes.
Of God, for me not doing what I wanted him to do, and that was to bring my mom full circle.
Yeah.
You know, uh, in her later times, I think my mom, she stayed with me for 3 months, and in those 3 months she passed away. So had the opportunity to kind of to see that, and to watch the her going down and things like that. And it was a lot. It was stressful. It was very stressful. Um, After the whole thing was over and done. But one thing, I want to say before I get to that point, like you said, all things work, and we know all things work for the good for those that love God and called according to His purpose. Even though it don't feel good,
right.
And He knows the plans that He has for us, and they are good. Well, when you're going through situations like that, you don't understand how those scriptures line up. But I do. Now sitting here today, my mom needed total help, bathroom, feeding, shower, everything. We had to do it, and it was just me, my daughter, and one of her granddaughters, and so that was a lot of stress. But with that being said, a lot of things that I now have experienced, a lot of things that God has called me to, a lot of things that I'm now walking in with God. I know that if I was still taking care of my mom, there would be, I wouldn't be able to fulfill that part, because this was a 24-hour day place that I had to be at all times. One of the greatest things was in this situation. Um, Again, you don't see all of that when you're going through it. But one of the greatest things also, I do believe that my mom knew God and she loved God. I do believe that, but I did have the opportunity, uh, just in case, just in case with everything that was going on, just in case, to take her and lead her to God again, take her through the sinner's prayer and things like that. And that was probably about a month before she passed away.
Wow.
So, those things now sitting on this side of it, you see all this now, but when you're going through it, you just want, come on, I just want you to do this right here, God, right here. This is what I want you to do. But he's working the whole thing out. Yeah, the whole thing. Okay, I do this, but then what about all this other stuff that I already had planned on doing? You know, so then, yeah. So then, like I said, after the passing of my mom, there was a lot of stress, a lot of, didn't want to accept that, so wise, again, I'm human. Why, my mom, and different things like that, which again, as Sister Lupe say, brings on, brings on stress. It brings on, it tears up your body, it tears up your organs, all these different things. And these things, but even though these things, you still go through them, and I'm kind of inward person. I've gotten better. So some things I kind of just hold on the inside, which is not good because again, that stress that has not been released outwardly, so it's being released inwardly. So everything on the inside is suffering. So yeah, there was some hurt, some pain, some discouragement, and those things like that doing the thing because of it was just hard to accept at that time. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, and please, I know that was a very tender uh, recollection to relive, and I want to thank you for taking a moment to relive that with us, and just even show your healing process, and maybe someone else's pain from their lack of acceptance can be helped just with you sharing that. Thank you so much for being vulnerable this morning and very transparent, as you always are. All of you are very transparent, but I know some things hurt more than other things to relive. And I thank you for sharing that, because that's a hard one as well. That's a very hard one as well, because we want our loved ones to live. We want them to have the outcomes that we want for them. And one of the things about that we have to learn is, when we're praying for things that we want, sometimes it's not what that individual is praying for, or it's not the best outcome for them. And remember, just like Miss Bianca said, God has all of that in his hands. So what we look at as a loss, as we look at as, hey, I didn't get my prayers answered, or what we look at, it's to someone else's achievement. It's for the good of someone else, but it's all for the balance of God. It's all in the balance of God, because he knows, remember, the plans that he has for us. And they're what? They are good. Go ahead, Miss Kashara.
Good morning. Good morning, all. Good morning. Blessings to all of you. I'm just so elated every time I tell you, every time Miss Bianca says something, it's like I'm always piggybacking off of it, because we have so many similarities, situations in our lives. But I really thank God for her saying what she said, because I wanted to, when you said it, I wanted to jump in, but I didn't want to break. But I too went through that. That same thing with my mother. And a lot of times what we want, the way we want it, it's not God's plan. God already have a set time. There's an expiration date for every one of us. And we don't understand that, because we want what we want. It's not always what we want. It's not always what we want, but it's God's way. It's his plan. And not that we don't agree with it, but selfishly, we want to hold on a little longer. We want them around a little longer. We want to feel their love a little longer. I remember when my mom was getting ready to transition, in my heart, I just wanted to make sure, I knew she loved me, but that was one of the things that I kept asking her over and over and over and over. I kept saying, Mom, do you love me? Mom, I love you. Do you love me? And I kept saying that, and she'll look up and shake her head, yes, and then I just kept saying it, because I know it, But it's just that assurity. I just didn't want her to leave me not knowing, not feeling in my heart that my mother loved me. Wow. And I kept asking her until one time I asked her, she was like, yes, I love you. She opened up.
Girl, you don't leave me alone.
Really loud. But that's what it was. But that assured me that she loved me, and every second of the day, I just kept saying, Mom, I love you, because I wanted her to know that I love you. I knew what was going on. And I even remember one of the times that I asked her, I said, Mom, she asked me, she said, why me? And she told me that she asked God, why me? But God gave her an answer. And the answer that God gave her was, why not you? Wow. That's deep, in spite of what what we feel it should be, he make it plain. If my son went to the cross, then why not you? Who are you that you can't be brought home or whatever? But it was really touchy to me. And I didn't know how. It's like I could fix everything. I can make everything feel right with her. I could do this and that and it would feel right. But this was one thing that I couldn't battle for her. One thing I could not do. I couldn't make her any promises. And she asked me that, why do I have to die? But I, normally you'd be like, oh, Mom, you're not gonna leave. But I couldn't say that. And I knew it was out of my control. Ooh. It was out of my control. My hands was tied. And I couldn't put my hands in that situation. When God speak, men live. When God speak, men die. And that's it. It's final. And nothing you could say or do, you can't pray it off. Because when that time comes, that's what it is. Wow. Thus said God, when that time comes, that is what it is. And all we can do is embrace it and understand that is what it is. We can't fight against it and we can't change it, because that's a final word. That is a final a final destination. When God say that's it. And that's what made me understand that it's God's will and it's not my will. His will shall be done. And that made me, it gave me hope to know in whatever situation that I don't have control over, that when God finalizes it, that's it. Wow. And we have to be okay with it. So I just wanted to share that. And thank God for somebody praying for me that I didn't just crumble and break, because every minute of the hour, my mother was my best friend. She was my, outside of my best friend, my mother was my best friend. And every day I miss her, especially now. Now I gotta go because I'm there now. But this is the time that I lost my mother. My mother went home to be with the Lord. And every day I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. But I'm grateful to God that I believe she made peace within her heart and I was able to let go. And I thank God that he chose her when he did, because now it made me grow up, show responsibility, and be the woman that God have created me to be. And she chose my life to be. So I just
wow. Thank you, Miss Kashara, for sharing that. Another really heart-wrenching, sensitive moment, very vulnerable. And as you approach the anniversary of your mother's transitioning, we definitely pray strength unto you, because it sounds like that's very much still a heart matter, as it will probably always be. And it's one thing about it. I know that was hard. That was very heart wrenching to even hear someone having to deal with God's no and having to accept God's no, to hear them ask, why me? Why do I have to die? why me? And oh my God, the acceptance that she had to go through just to accept that. Because we don't know the plans. We don't know why life happens the way it happens. And that's why we have compassion on people when they're going through their life happening events. You know, things that we can't control. Sometimes it's God's final answer, and that's just it. Sometimes it's our consequences, you know. Sometimes if, you know, situations, and I'm not speaking to anything that we've talked about on the line, just in general, you know, sometimes this is just the occurrence of what has happened. This is God's answer. Sometimes it's just the end result of some of our choices. You know, if I knew a young man that just used drugs pretty much all of his life, you know, and he really broke his body down. And when he finally got in recovery from drugs and alcohol, he ended up living clean and free for 6 months strong, before his body took a turn, and he shortly passed. He died of multiple sicknesses from not taking care of his body because of his addiction, you know, and those are things that's hard to accept, you know. But I really salute each and every one of you, because you guys have taken some very hard things in life that was out of your control. They were There was a definite limitation on what you could do personally, but you guys are overcoming and overcame a lot of it. Acceptance is a healing process. Sometimes I got to accept, and sometimes I can accept this part, but it's still hard to accept that part. Just continue in the healing. Continue to know that you're human. Continue to know that you don't know it all, nor can you bear it all, nor can you answer it all. We have to remember that we are human, and there are some things about us that happens with us, around us, that we just have no control. There's some things that we have personal limitations to. There's some things, regardless if we try real hard, that thing is still not going to change. And this is where we trust God's will for us. I have to trust the plans that he has for me. Every individual have to trust the plans that they have for them. I too dealt with when my father passed. My father, all of our lives, always talked, well, he didn't never want to talk about death, but he always talked of death in a way, you know, if I die, just throw me in a pine box and just, you know, send me down the river, or just dig a hole or something, you know, because he never wanted to get life insurance. That was too much like you know, that was too much like planning for death, which he was afraid of. He was afraid of death. And I remember upon his demise, I don't know how my sister-in-law did it, but she had got him to pay for his insurance, for life insurance, and he was paying into it every month for years. And when it was his time to go and receive his reward, what happened was I found so much peace in knowing that he had finally faced his final fear. So there are some things that along the way, there had to be some acceptance that finally got him to even get insurance. And now at the end of his natural life, he was overcome. He overcame his fear. So sometimes we have to change the way that we look at things in order to accept it, looking in healthier views. One of the things that I want to share with you guys, because remember, the more we fight against these things, the more it weakens us, the more it overcomes us, the more it has greater power over us. If I don't accept, this thing is going to always drive me. This thing is always going to cause me the discomforts, the heartaches, the bitterness, all the things that you guys shared today. Accepting God's no, because that's one of the things that people struggle with. Us, community of believers, the body of Christ. One thing we struggle with is when God says no. God is not our genie in the lamp. He's not our genie in the bottle. He's not granting us 3 wishes and everything we ask him. I love how Sister Lupe said, when the baby died, she had to come to agreement, just like David. He had to come to some acceptance that I don't always get what I want. Even though those plans work good for me, guess what? They may not work so good for that person that we're praying for. Even if mom lived, because of the evolving of the world, maybe her place in it wouldn't have been a good thing. And so God blessed her with eternity before. For those of you that have lost your mothers, you know, there's God's plans. They are good. We just don't understand his plan. And when his will don't line up with our will, then that's where we have to start that cycle of acceptance, the stages of acceptance. Why? Because if we don't, we'll stay in the agony of the denial, the anger, the distress, the bitterness, the night sweats, whatever it is that your symptoms are or were, because we could not accept it. Sometimes we can't accept God's will for our life. If you're 600 pounds, you want to be a brick house of 150, and you need to that to happen before next month's high school reunion. My acceptance is, even though I believe God real hard and I know that he can do anything and everything, I have to accept that what's happened in my body cannot be corrected in 30 days. Regardless if God is all powerful, he's not a genie in the lamp. So accepting God's will, accepting death, accepting when life throws its turbulence at us, accepting our personal limitation, accepting that maybe I'm not that genius that I wanted to be. Maybe I'm hating myself because I'm an addict. Maybe I'm hating myself because I can't control my anger, or I'm going through distresses and things because as a direct outcome of things that I'm not accepting. So one thing before we leave out today that I want to share with you is called the Serenity Prayer. Many of you may know it. It's a prayer, a saying, a quote, whatever you want to call it, that is so empowering. Now, I know it by heart, but I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to read it to you. So we want to identify that in these times, well, we need to get through that acceptance. We need to get to acceptance. We want to get from this point where it's hard for me to wrap my mind around this news I just got, or this experience I've just experienced. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around it. And where was God in this? And the acceptance, that will of acceptance, pull it up on your Googles, your Siri's, your Series, or however it's called, on your search engines. You know, the stages of acceptance. Lots of times there's grief that comes first, anger, denial. All those things have to happen. We start bargaining with God. Please, if you just bring her back. Please, if you just don't let us get put out today. Please, God. What happens when we get around all of those emotions after all of those barriers are faced, addressed, and they're in our past? Then maybe we can get to a place of acceptance, to that place of healing, to that place of ownership. I'm owning this now and I'm doing something about it. I'm going to grief counseling now. I accept that mom had to go. I don't like it, but I'm affected by it. So now maybe I should get some grief counseling. Maybe now, you know, I need to take down the ashes. You know, maybe now I need to stop praying that same prayer and go on and transition to a different prayer when my healing is not coming along like I wanted to. If God says, no, I'm not going to heal you, then God, I got to trust that you're going to give me the strength to get through it. I have to accept God's will. And God's will don't always come in black and white, where I said these words and that's it. You know, sometimes it comes just like Sister Lupe say, in the experience of the loss, in the experience that I didn't get what I want, in the experience that attacked what my desire was for the outcome. How do I move past that? How do I heal? It starts with acceptance. So I want to say, and again, I say I wanted to read it because I don't want to mess it up in our short time together. God, grant me the serenity. Grant me the peace of mind, the peace of spirit, the peace of being to accept the things that I cannot change. God, give me peace. Help me to accept those things that have passed, that have happened in my life. Help me to accept those things in my future that I have no power over. Help me to accept what's going on in my life right now that I can't change, that I have to trust you to change. Also, God, grant me the serenity to have the courage to change the things that I can. See, sometimes we look at things because some of the things that we have to accept is so connected to our will or our desire or our emotions that sometimes we don't see that we do have power in it to change. I like how Lupe said, I had to release the control. I do have the power. Now I just got to take courage and do it. Sometimes if we got debt piled up, we're looking at that mountain of debt saying, I can't change this. I can't change this. Did you see my income? I can't change this. But guess what? You have power to change that. If you pay $10 a month, you didn't change the debt. Because life changes. Next month, you may pay 20. Next year, you may be able to pay 50. But Lord, help me to take courage to change the things that I can. And guess what? That last part, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because there's some things that look like it's out of our control, but God is saying, yes, you do have control in it, but you have to accept this part in order for you to take courage and change it, to change other parts of the situation. Maybe you didn't have any power in that part, but you do have power in this. So acceptance is powerful. It's powerful. I want to ask before we go, what do you think about the serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, but also to take courage and change the things that I can. But God, also give me the knowledge, the wisdom, along with the serenity to know the difference, Sometimes wheat and weeds, sometimes they look alike, but God, help me to know the difference because I can do all things through Christ Jesus. Just because that power of disappointment came in, it blurred my vision like I've lost it all. I've lost. But I like how Sister Lupe said, that doesn't mean I've lost. I've surrendered my control. I've surrendered so that I can go in acceptance. I haven't lost. I'm going to release that struggle. So tell me, what does the serenity prayer, or however you want to say it, this saying, how does that, what do you think of it? What do you think of the serenity prayer? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Definitely practice the serenity prayer when you're dealing with things that you cannot accept, or even when you need to take courage to accept those things that you can change. So, guys, I love you. I thank you so much for your sharing on today. I thank you so much. I want you to have a great, prosperous day. Walk in acceptance of life. There's some things that we have the courage that we have to identify. What do I have to do? What kind of courage do I need to take? What type of move would you have me to make, God, so that I can change those things that I can? But there's some things it's out of my hands. So help me to accept that. Help me to accept it and give me the wisdom to know the difference. So I love you guys. I love you so much. And please remember, this life is worth living. And there's some things that we know, and there's some things that we don't know. But one thing that we do want to do is we want to live free, guys. We want to live free. We want to accept those things that we're not, those things that we can't, those things that blocks us. We want to accept those things that we have no control over. And we want to take courage in the things that we can do. But let's heal and accept those things that we cannot change. Let's not add stress and weight to ourselves and keep us in these unhealthy behaviors because we refuse to let go. Let's let it go. Love you guys. You guys live free. Have a blessed and prosperous day. God bless you all.